Time to pull up a chair. We've got another great story for you today in the rLounge. Entitled father threatened to trash my PS5 if I didn't gift it to my stepbrother for Christmas, so I sold it. Then stepmom left him. Families are complicated. Everyone knows that. Today in the rLounge, we hear from all sides. Up first, a son makes an honest living, but his dad decides it has to be shared. Am I the a-hole for selling my PS5 rather than sharing it with my stepbrothers? December 17th, 2021. My 15 male mom and dad met and briefly dated while they were both studying at uni. My mom gave birth to me after they had broken up and had to sue my dad for child support. I was raised by my mom and had virtually nothing to do with my dad throughout my childhood. My mom was an international student and her family cut ties with her due to the circumstances of my birth. Tragically, 2 years ago, I lost my mom to cancer and thus I was placed under the care of my dad. My dad has remarried and has 2 sons, 5 and 7, with his wife. It wasn't a bad arrangement at first, but we were all essentially strangers. I was given a bedroom to myself and we shared some meals, but other than that, kept to myself. About 10 months ago, I was lucky enough to score a casual job at an aged care facility as IT support. It was stupid easy money as it involves installing and maintaining a dozen or so common PCs used by the residents, plus running basic computing workshops. I ended up accruing a whole lot of disposable income in a short time. Stupidly, instead of keeping quiet about it, I decked out my room with a new TV, headphones, and a PS5. Obviously, this setup was of great interest to my 2 stepbrothers. Initially, my rule was that they could play the PS5 anytime I wasn't using it, but I would get first dibs if I wanted to play or use my TV. I was also super accommodating by buying an extra controller, which I didn't need, and several kid-friendly games that they wanted to play. I eventually had to change the rule to only play when I was there because the 5-year-old destroyed one of my controllers through spilling juice on it. This is where the drama started. They whined to my parents, who then ordered me to place the PS5 in the living room. I refused, stating that I had purchased it with my own money. This led to their argument that I have too much money and should contribute rent, utilities, and food money. I called their bluff and said, sure, draw up a contract and I'll get a lawyer to review it to ensure it complies with the Family Law Act. My dad then told the boys that he was going to buy a separate PS5 for the boys for Christmas, but the dude is clueless about the global shortage. Finally, last night, after realizing that he had zero chance of buying one for close to regular retail price, my dad threatened me to either voluntarily gift my PS5 to the boys for Christmas or he would toss it in the bin while I was at school. I was so pissed that I went on Facebook Marketplace and sold the PS5. The boys found out today and were devastated. I felt really bad because they shouldn't be punished for this crap show. My parents are in their room talking about me and I'm sitting here in my room. Am I the a-hole? How could I have handled this better? Verdict was not the a-hole. Oh, you are most definitely not the a-hole, and I'm sorry your dad made you feel any different. They really pushed you into a corner with that and forced you to sell it. You earned that fair and square. Your parents really missed an opportunity to praise you for how well you were doing and to teach your stepbrothers a little bit about life. Update 1, December 18th, 2021. Wow, this blew up overnight. Firstly, thanks to all the kind strangers out there giving me your positive encouragement and support. It's quite humbling that so many of took the time to read my story and chose to provide positive support. Some people were after an update of the situation. I'm at work now, but my stepmom had a chat with me this morning and it was quite positive. She said she didn't know about my existence until right before I came to live with them, and so it caused a huge rift between her and dad. She apologized for projecting that onto me and not being more welcoming. She also didn't know about my dad's threats and told me that it won't happen on her watch. My half-brothers also admitted to her about the juice incident. She said that she is going to get the boys a Switch for Christmas, and she offered to pay me the difference between retail price and getting a new PS5. I probably won't take the money, but at least it's a step forward. This was the longest conversation I have ever had with her, by the way. No comms from my dad yet. To answer some of the common questions. 1. My bank account is entirely my name only, Australia. No one else has the ability to view or access the balance. I actually don't think my dad's demand for rent was about money. They both earn a good salary. He's just butthurt that I'm not reliant on his money. 2. Yes, I really am 15. I typed out my post in Word so that I can be spell and grammar checked. Maybe that's what confused people. 3. I get $27.50 Australian an hour on a casual contract, with additional loading on weekend hours. The operations manager at the aged care facility is super chill and allows me to schedule my hours around school. I just have a cap that I can't go over. She lets me do my homework on the clock and I get free meals from the cafeteria. If I help the residents on non-facility devices, they usually tip me in cash or sometimes cookies. I've got a fair bit saved up because I don't really have any expenses. 4. I've got a shoebox of documents from when my mom passed. I think my mom's assets is looked after by a trustee firm, which will be turned over to me at 18. The law firm managing the will had previously explained this to me, but I wasn't really paying attention at the time. I've got to still go through everything. 5. I sold the PS5 for a tidy profit, even with the cost of the damaged controller. I'm not desperate for one at the moment, so I'll just sign up for a waiting list again so I won't need to take up my stepmom's offer. This is probably my last post on this issue. Thanks again for the love, everyone. It's nice to see that your stepmom noticed that her behavior was wrong, and I really hope that moving forward, she tries whatever she can to make it up to you. Your father and your stepmom should be proud to have a son like you. Update 2, December 6th, 2021. So we've got a gathering with the extended family today. This is the first time I've met any of them due to COVID, and they've all been super lovely to me. My stepmom showed them my original post, and they're all getting stuck into Dad. My uncle, Dad's younger brother, has set up a Reddit account for him, and he's doubling down as he thinks Redditors will take his side when they read his account of it. I'm not going to link or read his post, but people have been telling me it's quite a bloodbath. Some people, like your father, never learn. You know what you did was right, and you did nothing wrong. What do you make of Dad's behavior towards his son? Would you have sold your PS5? Let us know in your thoughts in the comments below. Next up, we hear from the father's perspective. The dad's own Am I the A-hole post. Am I the a-hole for asking my son to share his console with his brothers instead of keeping it in his room? December 19th, 2021. A few days ago, my bio son Jonah, not real name, posted a biased and frankly defamatory post about an incident in my home regarding a PS5. My wife was kind enough to share the post and comments with our entire extended family at our Christmas gathering, so apparently now I'm a huge a-hole. My brother suggested that I post here to set records straight and give people both sides of the issue. Firstly, I never actually intended to charge Jonah rent. His job gives him essentially 100% disposable income purely because he lives in our household. He used this money to deck out his room, buy brand shoes, buy the latest iPhone, etc., all for himself. I couldn't care less about how he spends his money, but it does set a poor example for my other two boys. The last straw was when Jonah set a login password for the PS5. I basically told him that if he's not willing to share, then why should I give him a free ride? My son should be grateful. While we shared DNA, I only dated his mom, May, not actual name, for all of 5 months back in uni. I was very clear with May that I didn't want kids, but apparently consent doesn't go both ways. May put me through legal hell and ended up costing me tens of thousands of dollars over the years in child support, setting my own goals back. Instead of letting Jonah end up in a group home, I stepped up and took him in when May got sick. Instead of gratitude, I constantly have to deal with disrespect and attitude. Because of Jonah, my wife thinks I breached her trust all for something that happened well before I met her. While the boys previously did have access to the PS5, he now won't let them play it now that the school has finished for the year unless he's home, which he never is. I gave him the ultimatum of either sharing the console or no one gets to play it. In response, he pulls the most passive-aggressive move ever and sold it, so now no one plays it. So listen, how am I the a-hole here? I've taken in this kid into my home, a kid who, by the way, will receive a sizable inheritance in a few years thanks to May's estate. I've given him a home, a family, and fun his lifestyle, all at the cost of my own relationship. In return, I haven't asked for a cent, and he won't treat me with respect nor follow my rules, but somehow I'm the giant a-hole who's in the study typing this out instead of enjoying Christmas with my extended family. Instead of attacking me, I'm hoping people will now give their fair opinion of the situation based on seeing both sides of the story. The OP also provided a heated update in the comments. Okay, clearly this hasn't gone down the direction I thought it would. Clearly some of you have issues with comprehension or just can't be bothered reading my comments fully. I want to be clear. I never threatened to collect rent from Jonah. I don't need his part-time work money or about his inheritance money. I make a very good salary, probably more than the vast majority of people who use Reddit. I simply tried to explain to him that he has all this disposable income, he doesn't have to worry about basic needs. I didn't explain it properly at the time because we were arguing, but my intention wasn't for Jonah to give his PS5 to the kids permanently. I just wanted it kept in the common area until I can buy another one for the kids. Jonah never told me about the controller. If he had, of course I would have replaced it. That's not an issue. I expected him to not be so selfish to his brothers. Keeping it in his room under password protection is so rude. Jonah gets home really late most days, so my kids are in bed by the time he gets back. I won't debate the nuances about sex and custody. I'm not an idiot. I understand perfect consent and parental responsibilities. I will just say that there is a large gap between consenting to sex versus consenting to have a child. I get that our current laws are against me on this one. I didn't intend to lie to my wife. Jonah and May were something way into the distant past for me. Our settlement agreement was very clear on that. I had obviously zero communication with May or Jonah for at least the 10-year period prior to finding out about her illness. My child support was at a fixed rate, so I had actually paid her out a lump sum that was supposed to take care of him until 18. It wasn't like it was getting taken out of a pay every week. As far as I knew, I was never supposed to hear from Jonah or May ever again. Why would I tell my wife about something like that? You had a child. At the least you could do is bring your child into your home and be a father. I think looking at yourself as the hero for simply bringing your child into your home is wrong here. That child is your responsibility. You're not a hero for doing the bare minimum. What you keep from your wife isn't your child's responsibility either. That's on you. Thoughts? Up next, did this father go too far with the punishment? You be the judge. Am I the a-hole for intercepting and eating my son's food delivery while he was grounded? January 13th, 2022. My eldest son, 16, is undergoing a hormonal-fueled rebellious phase. His behavior consists of things like rolling his eyes when I talk, back-chatting when I tell him to do something, overemphasizing putting on his headphones when I enter the room, and a whole laundry list of other passive-aggressive behaviors. It was his birthday yesterday, and he was going to go out with his friends this weekend to celebrate by paintballing. However, when I got home from work yesterday, I noticed that he had failed to do some chores I had set him, and then did the whole headphones routine when I started telling him off for it. I got so sick of his attitude that I threatened to ground him for 2 weeks, which means not letting him leave the house except for work. My words clearly cut through his headphones, and it dawned on him that he would not be allowed to go paintballing this weekend. So he took off his headphones and said, "Go F yourself," and then shut himself in his room. This naturally led to his actual grounding. The grounding didn't seem to faze him as he spends a lot of time in his room anyway. I cut off the devices from our home Wi-Fi, but he works around this by having his own hotspot. He refused to come out for dinner last night when my wife asked him to, and has basically barricaded himself in his room. At 10 p.m. last night, he ordered himself a meal via a delivery app. Again, he has clearly been passive-aggressive here, flaunting his independence as he has a perfected lovely meal in the fridge made by my wife. I was still up watching TV, so I intercepted the delivery and ate the meal myself. At some point, my son must have come out and seen me, but retreated back to his room without saying anything. My wife thinks I'm a major a-hole for eating the meal, but I think it comes part and parcel with the grounding. My wife also thinks I'm too harsh due to the grounding. I'll let him go to paintball if he apologizes. So am I the a-hole here, Reddit? If you let him go paintballing, it makes that you're just letting him get away with the behavior. Everything you said to him and everything you did to him to try to punish him means nothing. You probably should have taken his phone away. The verdict? The post was removed before the verdict was rendered. The son updates in the same post. Update comments from his son. Hi everyone, sorry for hijacking the top comment. This is my dad's post. Thanks for everyone's support. I don't think I need to add any more fuel to the fire here. The post and the comments largely speak for themselves. I just wanted to give a quick update to everyone that I'm 100% fine and okay. My stepmom vetoed my punishment, so I'm all good to go out with my friends this weekend. One of my new uncles has asked me to stay with them for a while, which is also super cool. So I'm doing well and loving life. These comments are hilarious. Much love. Update from the father in the comments. Original comment. I'm sure many of you would be ecstatic to know that my marriage may be over. I come home this evening to find that my wife and my 2 younger boys have left, probably at her mother's house. My oldest is still staying at my brother's house since beginning of January. This has hit me hard. As Redditors now like to remind me on a daily basis, I now know I have been a crappy husband and father. I have some self-reflection to do. I'm stubborn, but my wife has always been there to talk me down. I guess she's had enough. The only communication I have is a text from my wife saying she wants a divorce, and that her lawyers will be in touch regarding separation arrangements. I have tried calling, but it keeps going to voicemail, same as my in-laws. I want to apologize. I want to offer to go to counseling or therapy like she asked. If I still can't get through to her via phone, I'm thinking of going to my in-laws' house. I have to try to at least talk to her. I guess my Redditors hate me, but I welcome any suggestions on if there's anything I can try. Honestly, it seems like what happened with your son and your wife wanted to divorce you may be unrelated. Or perhaps this is just the cherry on top of it all. Maybe the straw that broke the camel's back. But my hunch says that she wanted to divorce you long before that. What are your thoughts on this? Was OP too harsh to his son? What would you have done? Next up, is OP too controlling or just doing his job? You have to hear it to believe it. Am I the a-hole for buying my wife a new dress? February 2nd, 2022. My, male 34, wife, female 29, and I regularly attend formal functions, once every 2 to 3 weeks. I work as a consultant, and these events are a great way to attract new business and for networking. My wife generally dislikes these things, but she puts on a good front for me. It's generally a good night involving lots of food, alcohol, and socializing while our kids are looked after by a sitter. Due to the pandemic, we haven't had any for about 2 years, but they are now starting to come back. On a function 2 weeks ago, my wife came downstairs dressed in a pantsuit and her hair in a simple ponytail. Don't get me wrong, she still looked amazing, but pretty much all the other ladies wear ball gowns or cocktail attire. When we talked about it afterwards, she told me that she was sick of the hours of hair, makeup, nails, and preparation, that if I insisted she go, she will dress how she pleases. I tried to explain that these things are a necessary part of my industry, but she wouldn't budge. She counters that she never drags me to any of her work functions, which I responded that we should compare pay slips, which was clearly the wrong thing to say, and she left the room. After the argument, I tried to make it up to her, so I ordered a very nice and expensive gown for her to wear for the next function. I even took it to our tailors for adjustment, as they know her measurements. When I presented the dress to her, she was initially very happy and said the dress was gorgeous, but as soon as I mentioned that she should wear it for our next function, she immediately blew up at me. She thinks I am being manipulative and going against her wishes. I thought I was just offering her a nice gesture. Am I the a-hole? The verdict was that it was removed before a verdict was rendered. Why would she need to go with you all of the time? If she wanted to stay home every now and again, why can't she? Once every 2 to 3 weeks seems like a lot, especially for an introvert. If she doesn't want to, don't force it. You're a big boy, you can go by yourself. Is OP the a-hole? Next up, a husband gets a rude awakening. My wife wants to divorce me and won't talk to me. How can I win her back? Hi all, I need some advice about how to win back my wife, and I'm genuinely willing to do anything. My wife, female 29, and I, male 34 of 8 years, have been having serious relationship issues over the last few years. The main area of friction between us is that I have a son, male 16, from a previous teenage fling that I never told her about. We also have another 2 young children together. My 16-year-old had to come live with us about 3 years ago because his biological mother died. His presence in our lives caused a lot of tension between my wife and I because she felt I majorly breached her trust. We argued more and more about minor things until last Thursday I came home to an empty house. I'm devastated. My wife is the love of my life and has always been the main support center in my life. I tried calling her, but she kept sending me to voicemail. She sent me a text saying that she wasn't ready to talk, but was filing for divorce to wait to hear from her lawyers regarding separation mediation. I'm a wreck. I would do anything to have her back, including counseling and therapy. She had previously asked me to attend, but I was too arrogant to take it up. I felt that if I could just talk to her, I can have a chance to explain and we can get through this. The next day I did something stupid. I went to her workplace, accounting firm, with her favorite takeaway lunch to try to talk to her. She must have ordered up the reception staff because they adamantly refused to buzz me into the office. Her staff even went as far as calling for building security. Not wishing to cause further drama, I left voluntarily. That night, I doubled down on my stupidity. I tried to visit her at her parents' house with a bunch of gifts for her and the kids. My mother-in-law answered through an intercom, but wouldn't let me in. I was so frustrated and emotional that I broke down at their door, basically making a scene and refusing to leave. Later, my brother turned up. I assume my wife called. He tried to convince me to go home, but we ended up in a shouting match. He eventually tried to manhandle me back to my car, so I got into a physical altercation with him, but I left when my father-in-law came out and threatened to call the police on me. Things have really gone downhill since then. This morning, 2 police constables turned up to where I work with a provisional domestic violence order along with a summons to attend court for a permanent order. I was in shock and as a result was inadvertently quite rude to the constables. This put them offside. I'm a contractor working at a client site, and so when my client asked the constables what the matter was about, they said they couldn't say for privacy reasons, but then immediately handed out business cards with their Family Violence Liaison Unit title embossed at the top. So now my firm's senior partner has waved me off, going back to the client site, and I may be fired. I feel like this is the wake-up call I needed. I know I've been a narcissistic a-hole and I'm ready to change. What can I do to talk to her? To show her I am determined to be better? I don't want to just end it like this. I know that if I have a chance to explain myself, to apologize, to promise to work really hard on my marriage, to work on my narcissism, to go to therapy, to go to counseling, whatever my wife needs to forgive me, and we can get on with our lives. Our court hearing is in a few weeks, so I'm thinking of turning up early with some expensive jewelry and try to talk to my wife before the hearing. My solicitor has told me that this is a bad idea, but I feel like I need to do something. I don't want to negotiate with my wife across a courtroom. I just want to remind her how much I love her and how much she means to me. What can I do to win my wife back? Has anyone else been in this situation? If she wants some space, give her space. Your behavior likely scared her and your family, which led to the domestic violence order. Update. I get it. It's over. You guys are right. I've effed up. Irrevocably this time. I've lost my family and likely will lose my job. I've always tried to control everything in my life. It's worked for me in the past because my family is wealthy and they fix things for me. But my wife and brother must have spoken to my parents because they said I can't use the law firm that my family has on retainer for my TPO or upcoming separation proceedings anymore. I'll hire my own solicitor as soon as stuff starts opening. I'll seek mental help too. Most importantly, I'll leave my wife alone. Thanks for your comments and advice. The wife finds the post and responds on the son's account. Comment February 10th, 2022. Hi everyone. A lot has happened over the last few months. My stepmom has been reading all of these posts and comments. She saw that he's now saying that he will change and hoping to gain some sympathy off of it. She emailed me this today to pass on to people so they can decide if he deserves any. I haven't edited it anyway, just copy and pasted it. Hi everyone. I'm not a Reddit user, but I have been following the messages that my stepson and my soon-to-be ex has written. I would also like to thank the hundreds of kind people who immediately saw through his BS and gave him some hard truths. I'm also grateful of all the well wishes to me, my sons, and Jonah. Apart from the few incidents last week, which isn't the complete picture by the way, he has stopped trying to contact me directly. But I'm hearing from mutual friends that he is on a mission to garner sympathy, trying to lay blame for his life falling apart everywhere except for himself. I note that he is throwing a pity party for himself on Reddit too, hoping to get people to congratulate him on how much he has changed. I want to set the record straight that this man deserves no sympathy. I've been with him for 8 years. Yes, I realize that I am a naive idiot, and I take my part of the blame for not only sticking around, but for having 2, now 3, incredible, light of my life, adorable children with this man. I will lay out the autopsy of my marriage and let people judge for themselves. I met him when I was 21, a broke university student trying to make it on my own. I met him while working at my part-time job. I was taken by his looks, his wealth, and his confidence. We got married within 3 months. I was stupid and vain, tricking myself into thinking he was the prince to whisk me off to a better life. After our wedding, the manipulation started. He wanted to convince me not to continue my studies. You don't need it, babe. I'll look after you. You just look pretty and look after my house. After the birth of our first child, I took 12 weeks off for maternity leave. I was pretty established in my job then. He again tried to convince me to be a stay-at-home mom. He tried to gaslight me, saying that it's not fair on your son, and that his fondest memories as a child was with his mom at home. Throughout the marriage, he would constantly use his wealth as leverage. My dad, bless him, is a good tradie, but terrible businessman. Early on, my ex arranged a loan through his family trust to rescue my dad's business. My ex would then gently remind me of that fact every time we disagreed about something. He would constantly monitor my credit card usage. He would question me on certain transactions that weren't to his liking. For example, fashion, gym, hair, Botox, makeup. Completely fine, but a latte and a muffin? Who the hell did you have coffee with? He would constantly provide input on my appearance. As an example, he would show me pictures of celebrities and tell me that it would be nice if I dressed and did my makeup more like that celebrity. He would also make offhand comments about what I ate. Are you sure you want to order that in a main size? Didn't you have a sugary drink already at lunch? Or my personal pet hate, I think my wife will have the salad tonight. At the industry awards or charity things we went to, he would tell me who I should talk to. I can't tell you how many inane, vapid conversations I've had with other spouses about the latest bags or some other BS winter collection. I once made a joke about him in front of some of his colleagues, and he scolded me like a child on the car ride home. You all know about him hiding Jonah's existence from me. What you may not know is that he lied about Jonah's mom and made her out to be a gold digger who tricked him into having a kid. This is why my initial reception of Jonah was definitely not warm, and I was ashamed for it. He's a really decent and sweet boy, and is so kind and patient with my 2 boys. He deserves better than his dad. I can go on for pages and pages. This list doesn't even begin to describe the level of narcissism, manipulation, and control he had over me for the last 8 years. I know I'm equally to blame for this, but I'm done with it now. I wasn't strong enough. I wasn't confident enough. I didn't want to say no to a man who gave me everything. Even now, at weak moments, I feel myself start to miss him and wonder if I should just endure it. That maybe he'll change just enough that I may be able to live with it. But then his recent fake pity party BS snapped me right out of it. I don't want his money. I don't want him. I just want my kids and I to live our lives free of him. Thank you for reading. The son made a comment in regards to his living situation and his dad trying to call him. I'm living with my uncle and cousins at the moment. My dad has texted, called me a few times, but only as a way to talk to my stepmom. Hiring an investigator while under intervention order, ACT, via Wayback Machine, February 12, 2022. I'm just considering some options here. From a legal standpoint, is it illegal for person A to hire a private investigator to survey person B while person B has an intervention order against person A? What a web this is weaved. And this is also why it's important to hear all aspects and perspectives of a story before jumping in the corner for someone. I'm grieving the life I used to have, February 12th, 2022. I had it all. I had everything. A beautiful wife, gorgeous kids, an awesome house in the suburb, a well-paying job, and a bright future. It all came crumbling down last week. My wife left with the kids while I was at work. It took me by surprise. Sure, we argued about little things like any other couple, but I had no idea she would hit the exit button so suddenly. I'm a good provider. I have nice shiny things, and we were, I thought, a great couple. Sometimes these things just aren't enjoyable. Now I'm sitting alone in a house filled with nothing but memories and silence. The most painful part is that I feel like I can get my life back on track with a gentle nudge. Unfortunately, my wife won't give me a chance to talk one-on-one. Next time I see her will likely be on the other side of a conference room with lawyers. Maybe I've changed. Maybe we've both changed. All I know is that I still love her and it hurts every day. I just want my life back. Moments like these really help us to go inwards and see things clearly. Unfortunately, that's what it takes to really understand who we are as people. What are your thoughts on the matter? What do you make of all this? Next up, divorces are ugly, but there's ways to make it easier on yourself. Did this OP go by it the right way? Am I the a-hole for insisting my girlfriend be allowed to pick up my children? June 29th, 2022. I, 35 male, have recently separated, divorced, not finalized, with my wife, 31 female. We have 2 primary school-aged boys together, which I have custody of one weekend a fortnight, Friday to Monday morning. I work fairly long hours, and every week my team goes out for dinner drinks on Friday night. It's important team bonding, and I feel these sessions are a critical part of my job. My girlfriend, Jane, 25 female, is a primary school teacher from a different school to my boys. I recently filled out a form with my boys' school to designate Jane as a guardian for purposes of picking up and dropping off my boys at school. I commute the other way to my work on Mondays, whereas Jane works at a school near our boys' school. With the current custody arrangements, it's only one pickup and one drop-off a fortnight if Jane was to do it. Unbeknownst to me, the school sent the form to my ex-wife for her signature. My ex is now super mad at me. From my perspective, Jane is a perfectly acceptable person to look after our boys, as she is my girlfriend, a qualified educator, and the boys get along well with her. She only has to pick them up and drop them off, and maybe look after them for less than 2 hours without my presence. My ex says I'm an a-hole and saying that I'm trying to shirk my responsibilities. I don't think that is fair. My ex is going through her lawyers to specifically write to me saying they prohibit this. I think she is overreacting because she is jealous. Am I the a-hole here? There is no verdict as it was removed before the verdict was rendered. You're not the a-hole here. Seems like it could have been cleared up by speaking to your ex before making such an arrangement beforehand. Your ex might not have known the whole story and instantly jumped to conclusions and was watching out for the kids because she didn't know your girlfriend like you and the kids do. What do you think? Have you been in a similar situation? If so, what did you do? And lastly, surprises aren't for everyone. My soon-to-be ex-wife is not happy with my holiday plans. July 13th, 2022. My, male 31, wife, female 27, and I have been separated for about 6 months, but not divorced. We were together for 10 years. We have 2 primary school-aged boys. She has more custody than I do at the moment because of my work schedule, but my aim is work towards joint custody. We came to an agreement to split the school holidays between us, I the first week and her the second. I had such a blast with the boys during my week playing games and watching movies with them at my new apartment. Just before my wife's week commenced, I asked if we could all do a few things together, go watch a movie, having a meal together, etc. It would be nice for the boys to see their parents get along after all. To my shock, my wife said that she had already booked a holiday for the boys and I would have no access to them for the entire week. Fortunately, my eldest boy told me that my wife had organized a cruise for them. To make things worse, it was the cruise that my wife and I talked about taking us when we were together. I was admittedly very hurt that my wife would take my dream family holiday without me. Apart from my personal feelings, I was mainly concerned about the safety of taking 2 boys by herself. A lot can happen on a cruise ship. I don't know if she's going to be alone or with a boyfriend or a group, so my main goal is to ensure the safety of my boys. I took time off work and also booked a cabin on the same ship. Luckily, there were plenty of vacancies. I don't want to be intrusive on my wife's time with the boys, but I thought it was a sweet gesture that at least I can look after the boys while she gets a massage or wants some time alone. I even got a VIP cabin suite so the boys can have rooms to sleep over. When I surprised her on the ship, she went ape nuts, ballistic at me. In fact, she screeched so loud the security had to intervene and we were all interviewed separately by the head of security. The head of security seemed to immediately take my wife's side, white knight, and told me to stay away from my family. But I mean, it's a ship. I've been hanging in my room for the last few days, but I'm not sure the direction from security is enforceable. Obviously, my wife has once again misinterpreted my nice gesture. I didn't go on the cruise to interrupt her trip, merely to make life easier for her to enjoy herself while spending time with the boys. Any advice for me? Perhaps it would have been better to let her know beforehand and your reasonings why. Not a lot of people like surprises, and that seems like a huge surprise. She didn't know your intentions, even though they seem harmless, and you have your children in mind. What do you think? Thank you for following along today in the rLounge. Before you go, be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell. If you have something you want to share regarding today's content, we want to hear it. See you soon.